what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Foot Candle Films. Film news and reviews from two guys who really like movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Foot Candle Film Society. For a schedule of upcoming screenings and membership information, visit the Society's website at www.footcandle.org.
Hello and welcome to Foot Candle Films here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson. With me is Chris Fry. We are with the Foot Candle Film Society and the Foot Candle Film Festival. Chris, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm looking forward to talking about this film. It was one that you and I think kind of brought up in Trailer Tapas at one point. I think mentioned the trailer, talked about it briefly, and now The Iron Claw is available.
It's here. Yes. Chris led into that perfectly. Yeah, we are going to be reviewing and discussing the film The Iron Claw, which is the latest A24 production starring Zac Efron, directed by Sean Durkin. We're going to be discussing that film here in just a minute. I also very curious to hear thoughts and opinions on this film. But we are also going to do some other things in this episode. We're going to talk a little bit about some movie news in terms of upcoming productions we're curious about and going to tease a little bit. And I think Chris also has another patented Chris Fry recommendation of a film he has checked out recently, because Chris watches a lot more movies than I do and has a lot more good films to recommend. Just to understand, we're hearing Chris's recommendations, which means Chris has also watched a lot of movies he's not recommending. So that's the kind of tips you into the volume of what we're dealing with here. But good to hear another recommendation from you. We'll get to that later in the episode. But first, let's jump into the ring and talk about the latest film starring Zac Efron, directed by Sean Durkin, including other actors as well. We'll get into in the review. This is the film The Iron Claw.
Ever since I was a child, people said my family was cursed. Mom tried to protect us with God. Pop tried to protect us with wrestling. He said if we were the toughest, the strongest, nothing could ever hurt us. I believed him. We all did.
Morning.
Pants tomorrow, please, David.
Perry, I want you to join your brothers in the ring.
Yes, sir. I love that.
Woo! Now, we all know Kerry's my favorite, then Kev, then David, then Mike. But the rankings can always change.
What do you want in life, Kevin Von Erich?
More ribs? I want to be with my family. Be with my brothers.
What do you like?
The Iron Claw tells the story of the inseparable Von Erich brothers, who made history in the intensely competitive world of professional wrestling in the early 1980s. Through tragedy and triumph, and under the shadow of their domineering father and coach, the brothers seek larger-than-life immortality on the biggest stage in sports. That is the logline given us by A24, the production company that put the movie out. Alan, you and I, we've alluded to the fact that we talked about the trailer before. Wrestling, not something I am generally interested in. I have a vague, kind of knowledge of it. Sean Durkin, the director and writer of the film, he's made two films previously that I think we may have discussed, both Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. I think I recommended it at one point. And he made a film with Jude Law called The Nest, which was a little bit more recent.
I never saw that. Yeah.
Both of those films talk about family dynamics. Mm-hmm. Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene has kind of a cult that happens and someone gets away from that and tries to return to her family life and the challenges with that. The Nest, really complicated, but basically a family being uprooted and moved to England and how that works with the family and the family struggles with that. In this, we have something that is unique in that it is based on a true story of a family that actually exists and was in the wrestling world. And but there again, it very much is about the dynamic of the family. Mm-hmm. What did you make of this telling of a wrestling tale? And, did you find more drama when kind of, they mentioned it in the film, with wrestling matches, the whole thing is like, oh, it's all fake. It's all a put on. But then they're like, well, there's a lot of athleticism. And even though things may be planned, there's a lot more to it than that. Did you find there was a lot more to this film than maybe you thought there would be?
Yes.
Okay. And yes.
Moving
and
on. No, I like this a lot. I think there's a lot here to admire. It's this is a movie that it doesn't survive for me on its as much of its story, because the story is pretty simple. This is a film that relies on everything else going on around the story itself. I think the look and feel of the film, I think the performances, I think the tone, the style, and a little bit of that, like you're saying, since it is so focused on quote pro wrestling. I myself, I'm not a wrestling fan. I don't understand the pro wrestling field as much. And I, like you, assume, yes, it's all fake. It's all
put on.
But I think the film does a really good job of letting us kind of behind the curtain of seeing this is what it's really like as a business. And this is what it's like as a sport. And I did get some appreciation for the field a little bit from this film as well. But obviously this is a film about this family. I mean, the wrestling is just the environment that they're in.
Right.
This could have been any other type of endeavor or thing that the family members got into. It just happens to be pro wrestling. And I thought it was a fascinating take on that. But obviously this is the family film about the relationships, the brothers and their father and the mother too. I mean,
yes.
The mother plays an interesting role here as well. I just found the story interesting. I found it heartbreaking. I found the performances all really, really strong through this film. I loved the look and feel of this film. I'm a fan of it. I'm very, very happy with this film. Chris, please don't ruin my Christmas wish here and tell me that you did not like this film.
No, I did. And it was, you mentioned kind of the different acting, and just as far as like an ensemble, I think, all the brothers are really strong. Lily James, who plays a wife at one point, she ends up being a wife, spoiler, but there again, it's based on a true story, so we're not ruining anything. I thought she did a really good job. The father, man, I'm not only familiar with him from the Netflix show Mindhunter, Holt McCallney. He is so domineering, which he should be. He's a domineering father. Yeah. So his presence was really strongly felt.
Chris, I was so close to putting his name down as a nomination on Best Supporting Actor, because I do feel like he's an actor that's not going to get a lot of attention from this film as much as he should.
Okay.
I think the brothers are all going to be the ones everybody's going to talk about, but his performance, you have to buy his performance as the domineering father. And I totally bought it. And yeah.
I think, we mentioned the brothers. I think it's kind of unfair to one of the brothers. Zac Efron plays Kevin and Jeremy Allen Wright plays Carrie. So right there you have these two of the brothers and you're like, okay, they're just going to take all the limelight. And for the most part, they kind of do. The other brothers have their moments, but it's just like with such strong presences, especially Zac Efron, almost not unrecognizable, but he's just like, he looks like the Incredible Hulk, just completely different from his High School Musical personality. Just really striking to see the change there.
Zac Efron, I thought I hate it sounded pretentious with it, but he was kind of a revelation in this film. No. I thought he was excellent. It's a complicated character he has to play.
Sure.
It's a character that can on the surface be seen as very, very simple. A kind-hearted character. I think what he has to go through and the fact that he is kind of our lifeline through this family drama that we're watching. He's really, really good in this. Look, Jeremy Allen White is good too. I like him so much as an actor.
Sure.
I like everything I've seen him do.
Sure.
I don't feel like he got to flex his muscles quite as much in this film outside of what I've typically seen him do. I don't feel like his character was that much different than what I've seen him be in the Bear and other things. So, but he was still good.
Sure.
It's just, I don't feel like the flex was there as much as what I saw with Zac Efron. Zac Efron was revolutionary, I think, in a way in his role here. So I'm really a fan of his performance there. Yeah.
I'll say they mention I think, Zac Efron, believe it. Yeah, that would make sense. Zac Efron's character, Kevin, does some voiceover narration at some points. And one of the things he says, I think pretty early on, kind of setting up the film, is how, people talk or kind of whisper about how there's a curse on the Von Erich family. And, as events play out in the film, they're again based on real life. So we're not that we want to spoil anything, but there are, several things that one of these instances happening to a family would be devastating. And they have just several that just keep on coming.
Yeah.
I can see why people thought, maybe there was something to this whole thing, that there was a curse. It is.
Do you want to hear something kind of even? This has nothing. This is not in the film.
Okay.
But after watching this film, I had to read up more about this family and the story.
What's true, what's false?
Do you know there was actually another brother that's not even in the film?
Wow.
That also had a very similar fate to some of the other ones.
Wow.
And I mean, there's a lot of people online wondering why not include that one, because he was also like somewhat famous. He was a wrestler. He was known for a while. I'm just like, boy, I don't know if I could have taken another one in this film. So,
I mean, as it is, if you wouldn't have thought this was based on real, if this wasn't a true story, based on a true story, I think you would almost just not believe it, because it's just like, no, there's no way that much of a dark cloud can hang over one family. That's just not real. So I don't know if maybe it was like, okay, we're going to actually take out something, because if we put that in, people would just not believe
almost
it.
not believable. Yeah.
Sure.
But,
I will say, I did enjoy the film, but I will say I think it was the mention of the curse that kind of established a feeling of dread. And a lot of it, I don't feel like it ever let up, regardless of what was on screen. And I think a lot of that, some of that's the cinematography and how the film looked. It was, a lot of scenes were kind of dark. There was always, very rare did you get like bright sunlight or things like that. There's some moments toward the end of the film that was kind of an interesting way to kind of have one's character's arc kind of wrap up. That was interesting, that I won't spoil, but that was an interesting, very unusual little piece there. But I remember one part in the film. I'm a big fan of the band Rush. I was excited when they used Tom Sawyer as walk-on music for the brothers to kind of come out in the wrestling ring. And I think they actually used the entire song too. They let it play out, which I was like, cool, man, this is really awesome. I really like, 'cause you can totally see Tom Sawyer being used as walk-on music for a wrestling match. But in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah. But just wait. It's like, this is not, everything's going to be just, blue skies and everything from here on out. It's like, we're going to knock you down again. So.
Well, and I'll tell you, okay, this is to the marketing department of film studios. This is why I both love and hate trailers. Okay. We showed the trailer for this film a couple months ago on the show, because we were talking about and excited for this film.
Right.
And damn it, that trailer, there's a whole scene in the trailer that's around a funeral. Okay. Just going to say. And unfortunately, what that means is I'm watching this movie. I'm like, okay, I know a funeral's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm spending too much of my energy in the film saying, who's it going to be? And that should not be happening when watching a movie. So that is now a reason why I'm still trying to be very tepid about my enjoyment of trailers, because I don't like going into films with any kind of preconceived notions of what's going to happen with the story beats. And, seeing people at a funeral, that pretty much tips you off right away.
Well,
and
I will say a benefit of a smaller film, granted this has a lot of actors in it, it's put out by A24, but a smaller film as opposed to like a Marvel movie or something like that. I saw the trailer in the theater maybe once, and I saw it when we talked about it here on the show. It was only twice. Because I wasn't inundated with it, I kind of, other than the fact that I knew it was about wrestling, I'd kind of forgotten that moment in the trailer. So that helped my enjoyment, I guess. But
I wish I didn't know anything about this family going into it. That would have made this even much, much more impactful. As it is, look, it's still great. You mentioned the music. I think, the use of music, very intentional at times. It is, yes, the soundtrack music that you would expect in kind of late 70s, early 80s time frame. But it worked. I mean, they used it to perfect effect. I love the look of the film. The film had just a great tone to it, and just, I don't know, it was great. And then those sequences in the ring were really well done and they were entertaining. And it was just, I loved all the backstage stuff too, as they're talking about what they're going to do during the show and how they're going to put on this move. And you do get the athleticism out of it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there are moments where something happens in the ring that was not planned and not expected. And you're seeing how it affects them as a performance. I'm like, man, it was really good. So I'm super high on this film.
Well, and some of the, like you were talking about earlier, the business aspect.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we have to, put ourselves up for this match. We may win, lose it, but we're going to try to gain this much exposure. And everything's kind of like a chess match. And how do you slowly move up? And you have to really take your opportunities when you're given the opportunities. And you have to balance the egos of the people you're going up against. And it's much more of a strategic chess match than I ever would have really realized.
So I loved it. I thought this was great. I also thought it had a pitch perfect ending. I will just say that as far as the last scene we see, and I don't know if you recall it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm definitely not going to kind of hint towards it, but it just worked. I mean, and there was also, you mentioned there's one moment that I will say has a bit of a fantastical element to it.
That's
That's not the ending scene.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
close to the ending, but that's not quite it. And at first, when that was happening, it kind of pulled me out of the film a little bit. But then, as the scene played out, I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. This was good. This was the right thing to show."
Did it get a little dusty?
It did, absolutely. It just like in the very last scene, to me, also got me dusty. Just, I don't know. It was just a nice closing. So yes, for a film that's tough to watch, a lot of drama going on in this film. I still feel like there was some positive to come. Even, I'll just leave it at that. I felt like there was enough there that, okay. Yes, that's all I have to say about this film. I'm a big fan.
Fair enough.
Big fan.
I'm also a big fan. I could see it doing well come awards time. So
I hope so. I've got a feeling I don't think it's going to get quite the acclaim that you and I are dishing out on it from what I'm seeing. But again, I don't care. It'll make one of the best of list on my year-end list for sure. So that is The Iron Claw. We are both big fans. It is playing in movie theaters now. I think it's got a relatively wide release. I mean, I don't think it's not a limited release. I mean, it's playing in Hickory, North Carolina. So that ought to tell you something.
Sure.
So we do recommend going out and checking out this film. Absolutely. And I would imagine probably would be online maybe January, February, I would imagine, for people if they want to see it then. So, okay, Chris, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I think you've got a recommendation to share. I've got a upcoming movie I want to tease and talk about. And so we've got those two things coming up. So stay tuned to Foot Candle Films. We will be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Welcome back to Foot Candle Films here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. We just finished our review of The Iron Claw. We are both very positive on this film and highly recommend it to others to check out. But Chris, let's turn our attention, as always, to films coming up in the future. This is the part where I like to kind of get into talking about upcoming films because I love reading about new films that are coming out. I love the backstories of production, finding out who's involved with these films, finding interesting gems to explore. I don't know if this one falls clearly in that category of gem. We will wait and see. But I do like it when I hear or see an actor, especially one that's traditionally a comedic actor, writing and directing their own film. And then in this case, also starring in it. We talked about Bradley Cooper in Maestro last week, acting, writing, and directing his own film. Here we have a similar situation, although with a different style and tone to it for sure. Jake Johnson. How familiar are you with Jake Johnson as an actor? He's been in TV. He was in New Girl, the sitcom, for a good long time.
Is he also in the Spider-Verse films as the voice of
he
Peter
is the
Parker?
voice of the adult Peter Parker in there as well.
I mean, he's
You're
kind of
familiar.
like that guy.
Right. Yeah. He's done some smaller indie films. I think there's one that had to do with a beer.
Drinking Buddies.
Drinking Buddies. Yeah, a couple others he's done. I like him a lot. I think he's really
I like
funny. I think he's a great actor. I enjoy just about everything I see him do. So color me interested when I read that he has written and directed a film that he is starring in.
Okay.
It is going to be a film that's going to be landing on Hulu on January 12th. But it is also going to be released in theaters at least for a few days beforehand.
Interesting.
Yep. The film's name is Self-Reliance. Here's the premise of the film. It is Tommy, who's played by Johnson, a man who's offered $1 million to play a game in which he must outwit hunters as they attempt to kill him. He thinks he's found the perfect loophole because he can only be attacked when he's alone. The only problem is that none of his friends or family want to keep him company because they don't believe the game is real. So that's the kind of
like a combination of The Hunt, which came out in like 2020, and I guess The Game that David.
A little bit of that,
so
with a little bit of a high concept in it. This whole idea, for whatever reason, he can't be killed if he's has people around him. So you get where this is going. That he has to constantly find ways to always be around people. The film has Andy Samberg in it, has Anna Kendrick in it, Natalie Morales, Wayne Brady, Emily Hampshire, several people in it that obviously are, this is going to be a comedy.
Got you.
Whether it's going to be anything deeper than that, I don't know. But I do want to show you the trailer for Self-Reliance.
I want to see the trailer.
Just because I think this has got potential to be a fun movie. And again, I like Jake Johnson a lot, so I want to see what he can do behind the camera as well. So here we go. This is the trailer for Self-Reliance, coming to Hulu in January.
Hi.
Are you the actor Andy Samberg?
I am.
I'm a big fan, man.
Oh, thank you very much. Hey, I got a question for you. You want to get in? Thomas Walcott, single, no children, no dependents. Job is network management, physically fit. Guess they're not too strict about that one. I'm joking. Kind of serious, though.
You have been selected to partake in the biggest reality show in the dark web. There will be people trying to kill you, the hunters.
What are you talking about? There's people trying to murder me?
So other than the fact that the trailer might have still given away too much of the film and is too long, other than that, what's your thoughts on what you're seeing of Self-Reliance?
All positive except for what you just mentioned.
Yeah,
I feel like I have seen too much of the trailer, but excited Andy Samberg is playing a version of himself. Doubly excited when I saw it was a Lonely Island production, which explains why he's in the film. I think it looks great. And the thing the trailer makes you worry about is A, you've seen too much of the film, but B, can the premise hold? Because it is kind of a really high concept, like kind of, odd premise. You're like, okay, but can they sustain that for the running time of the film and have it like work with the mechanics that they set up? Don't know. Yeah. But there are enough interesting aspects to it that, I'm intrigued. And hey, I already subscribed to Hulu, so it'll be free.
We already have it. It's basically a free movie coming out January 12th. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know of many quote comedies coming out in the next little while that I can think of. Definitely going through award season, we're not really surrounded by comedies at this time of the year. So I'm looking forward to in January kind of having something a little lighter and hopefully fun to watch. We'll see. Again, I like Jake Johnson. I always admire it when I see a comedy actor decide to get behind the camera and direct a comedy themselves, especially putting themselves in it. I'm like, yeah, let's see what happens. I'm curious about this. So that is Self-Reliance, coming out on Hulu on January 12th. All right, Chris, that is one coming out about 3 weeks from where we're recording this.
Sure.
But what is a film that is available now that if people wanted to watch, that you would recommend that they check out? Chris's patented recommendation.
Right.
Yes.
I'm going to recommend a film called Your Lucky Day. It is by Dan Brown. It is his directorial debut.
Wait a minute. Dan Brown.
Not the writer that did
not the Da Vinci Code guy.
Code. No, okay. Completely different dude. Gotcha. He's made some short films. He made a short film, Your Lucky Day, which I think was the basis for this film, Your Lucky Day. And it's 90 minutes, so it comes and goes really quickly. The synopsis that I'll give you is after a dispute over a winning lottery ticket turns into a deadly hostage situation, the witnesses must decide exactly how far they'll go and how much blood they're willing to spill for a cut of the $156 million. So what's admirable to me is this is kind of like a crime thriller. It takes place, for the most part, at a convenience store. So it's kind of like a one location, but through different camera angles and like, I don't know, it's just a very unique vision, and the writing is really tight to make things fall into place so that the story can happen the way it does. And you don't, for me at least, I wasn't shrugging my shoulders like, oh, of course that happens because it needs to move the plot forward. No, it all, was flowing really well, which is pretty impressive for it to be his first directorial debut, Your Lucky Day. Not a lot of well-known names in it, so it is a very independent film. The one name that I actually did not recognize, I thought, I wonder if it's that fellow. And the more the film continued to go on, I was like, yes, it totally is. I looked it up. Angus Cloud, which I don't know if you've seen any of the show Euphoria. He was one of the major actors in that. And unfortunately, he passed away back in July. But he is a pretty big character in this film. So it's a performance that, I maybe some fans of the show would want to check out because it's a shame he passed away because a lot of people were looking forward to what he might do after Euphoria. Yeah. So it's Your Lucky Day, not a family movie, a lot of language and violence, but it reminds me kind of like a early like Tarantino type movie as far as like the intensity of the violence and the cleverness of the screenplay. Now it kind of weaves things together. But that's Your Lucky Day by director Dan Brown, and it is streaming. You can rent it tons of places, but it's also, depending on where your local library is, for free on Hoopla, which is that service that you can watch films with your library card.
On Hoopla for free if you're a library user and have a library account with your local library.
Yeah, and your library happens to choose to stream that, which they can make choices. But,
sure. Yeah. And then you've also got it available online just for rental purchase as well too, right?
Yes. Okay. And it's an amazing, for me, it was a pretty cool directorial debut that I was pretty much unaware of until here again, we've talked about end of the year. And one of the categories in North Carolina Film Critics Association is directorial debuts. And this is a recommendation that somebody threw out. And I was like, well, never heard of it. And I checked it out. And it was good. I don't think it made our final nominations, but I'm definitely glad to put it on my radar. So, yeah, if that sounds like something you might be interested in, Your Lucky Day. Check it out.
All right. Great. Thank you again for the recommendation, Chris. Always piling on more films on my watch list that Chris has to recommend. So it's a double-edged sword. I love hearing the recommendations, but it also reminds me of more films I need to now see. All right. So Chris, we gave our positive review of The Iron Claw. We talked about Self-Reliance, the new film from Jake Johnson. And then also you mentioned your recommendation as well. So if anybody has any feedback or thoughts or questions about anything we talked about, how can they get a hold of us?
You can write us an email at info@footcandle.org. Otherwise, you can follow us on Twitter at Footcandle Film, Facebook, we're on Footcandle Film Society, pretty easy there, and Instagram and Threads, we're just simply Footcandle Film. We're also, Alan and I are on Letterboxd, where we try to track what we're seeing and leave quick takes and ratings. Do us a favor, speaking of ratings, if you like the podcast, consider giving us a star rating or writing a review or share with friends on whatever service you receive your favorite podcast on, because it'll help us reach new listeners, and we would appreciate it.
All right. That'll wrap it up for today. Thanks so much for everybody for listening, and we'll look forward to talking to everybody next time here on Footcandle Films.
See you in the ticket line.
Watch films in the company of like-minded people in the dark. Watch films in the underground. We won't let anyone know where you are. The films that don't make it to Carmike at the mall, or ones that were famous when Grandpa would watch films out of the reverence of the heritage of an art. Watch films through the courtesy of Footcandle Film Society.
Special thanks to Carpal Tuller for the show theme music. For more about Carpal Tuller, visit www.carpaltuller.com. You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.